Joining us is a man who always love to have him here on The Observer. And, he's no stranger to the audience. Please, folks, let's say a pleasant good evening to former Top Cup and political leader of the NTA, Gary Griffith. Pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Griffith.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, indeed. It was quite a week for you, but you seem to have a strong back indeed. You always tell me you have a broad back and you're ready for whatever comes your way. quite interesting.
It's been a long one. It's been a long road for the last few days.
Yes, indeed. Just last Thursday, of course, at the PNM public meeting, so much was said. You had the National Security Minister implying that passes used during the COVID-19 lockdown in 2021 were being sold in South Trinidad for $5,000. He said that, of course, under your watch, 22,000 passes were given out, one to a sports store owner who was before the court on matters of fraud. And as I said, he learned later on that it was being sold in South Trinidad. I think 22,000 passes, and I think all right-thinking citizens would agree with me. For 1.4, 1.5 million people in this country, give or take, 22,000 passes, if that's the skeletal breakdown of those who are operating in different capacities, caterers, sanitation, what have you, that in itself could be justified. I mean, how do you take such a, assertion that something was not above board there?
Well, again, I always hope that PNM supporters could debate with me on it. So I will expose and show what an illiterate the Minister of National Security is. As you rightly said, any right-thinking person would think that. For me to be able to squeeze 22,000 persons alone to be able to keep a country running says a lot. To start with, that is supposed to have been the job of the Minister of National Security. But because the government is so lazy, none of them took it upon themselves to take that responsibility. Had I not done it, the country would have shut down. And it showed to show the ignorance of Fitzgerald Hines. The private security industry alone, all the security officers from every security company, they have to if the curfew is 6 o'clock, they need to leave home by 4 o'clock to be there to start the curfew ends at 6 a.m. They need to leave home by 4 a.m. to make sure they catch their shift from 6 to 6. So you're talking about 50,000 security officers alone. We have over 20,000 members of the Army, Coast Guard, Police, Prisons, Customs, Fire. We have over 10,000 persons minimum who are involved in the medical facilities around the country who needed passes. We have all the taxi drivers, the fishermen, we have the bakeries, we have everybody in the food industry, we have all of the media. So and the list can go on and on. So it shows how stupid this man is that he can say, well, we're 22,000. And again, the one thing the PNM always do, they know they're incompetent, they know they're dumb, so what they always do is to throw them drinking, them always drunk, and them thief, and them corrupt. So if it's airlines, and again I want to expose and call out to all the PNM till the dead supporters, if you know somebody was bribed to pay it, call the person's name and report it to the police. But you know why he wouldn't do it? If he goes to a police station and does that, he will be charged for wasting police time. So if you know any bribe was taking place, why you don't call the name of the person who paid the bribe and who received the bribe? And why don't you report it to the police? But that is how you as a minister, and you could go and blatantly make wild comments without any facts, any data, any documents, any witnesses, any evidence, and you see it. It is just like Emailgate. A man who lied to the country, who read out some lies to the country on Emailgate, became prime minister. We need to get serious in this country and understand that the PNM's propaganda campaign must never work again.
Yeah, and also the fact that what was stated, over 8,000 firearm users' licenses were granted, more than all the police commissioners add up together since independence. Added to that you allow the importation of high-caliber 7.62 ammunition, which Mr. Hines said was banned by the United Nations and which could cause severe damage, that under your watch it came in by the millions.
Right. So it shows that he is a blatant, outright liar. Every single army in the world, they use 5.56. The man is a liar. 7.62 is also used in mass amount in the army here and in the police service. I was the commissioner of police. We did an audit recently. It's over 1 million rounds of that is used. The defense force, that is their main the main ammunition that is used in the defense force. 5.56. You are seeing 5.56 rounds in crime scenes, marked TTDF. That alone shows that he is a liar. He says the United Nations banned 556 and 762. He is a liar. I was in the United Nations. The United Nations doesn't have that authority to do that, one. And two, so you will ban 556 that could really and truly kill one person, but you wouldn't ban rocket launchers and hand grenades and the type of technology and explosives that you will see that coming out from fighter jets that can kill thousands of persons in 2 seconds. It shows how stupid this man is. And he says the same line, the whole people could believe it. So the 556 and 762 that would have been brought in was for the defense force and the police. They need it. And to show how stupid he is, you claim that we brought in so much ammunition. Well, tell the country which firearm dealer received 57 million. I challenge him. 57 million rounds brought in. And how we could bring in 57 million rounds, which most of the ammunition that I approved, 95% is for the defense force and the police. But you just approved $12 million in ammunition for the defense force. So how much more ammunition they want? See that you claim that what I brought in was too much. And again, it shows how this man operates. They just make blatant lies, exaggerate the point, no facts, nothing at all. The other aspect as it pertains to firearms, as I said, the firearms that would have been distributed under my watch, I issued 6,800 firearms. If all the other commissioners before me didn't do it, it's because they are lazy and they didn't do their job. Because I was doing my job and because I was efficient to get my job done. Because there have been more reports of those commissioners with persons who received firearms, who lost it, who fired negligent discharges, who used it in an indiscriminate manner, than I did with my 6,800. You know why? Because I did a stringent policy, meticulous, 12 different things done, inclusive of a compliance unit, to ensure that the right persons will get firearms. Those before me did not have those things, so the wrong people will get in. So it has nothing to do by stating if you give out more firearms, it is going to increase the possibility of incidents. More incidents took place before me with the smaller amount issued than what I distributed. So for him to state, well, I gave out, that is a compliment to me, because the law state, everything that I did was within the law. So it's not to say that, I just went down the street and gave it out to persons. The law was there. He also lied to say that I was breaching government policy. Fitzgerald Hines, stop being a fool. You cannot have a government policy to override a law. There is no government policy to issue firearms. If there's a law, you can't put a government policy. And what is the government policy? Show me the government policy. There has never been a government policy.
And you're right. You're right about that, Mr. Griffith. I mean, we're seeing a lot where it's about manipulating the narrative. They're very critical of you suggesting to classify gangs as terrorists. And that's something I really want you to touch on. But the seriousness of it is that I think I speak for all right-thinking citizens when in fact that we were thinking that those who are in charge of securing this nation and securing the citizens would come on a platform and tell us about a plan, a policy, something that could be implemented to deal with this crime surge. Instead, we the people are faced with the fact that there's been 34 murders for the year already. Today is the 24th day of the new year, and one person is killed every 16 hours. I think we deserve better than that. Rather than looking for kinks in Gary Griffith's armor or calling out someone for having an anti-crime talks, I think number one priority should be to put an end to this crime surge and help secure the citizens. Why would you want to classify these gangs as terrorists?
And again, it is being because what I am trying to do is similar to what I did as a Minister of National Security that resulted in the highest reduction in serious crime in 31 years, and as Commissioner of Police, where that period was the highest reduction in violent crime in 17 years. You've got to think out of the box. The man has never, or even this government, in 8 years, they have not come up with one policy, one solution, one unit, one piece of technology, one policy to change the narrative, to stop the criminals from getting the upper hand. What happens right now is gang members, imagine right now, so if you're, if it is that you're found in possession of pepper spray, $750,000. But if you're found in possession of an illegal firearm, it's $40,000. That shows the stupidity we have with this government. So the criminal elements fully aware that if I have an assault weapon and I'm held, $40,000 and I'm out into the streets to go and kill again. We need to turn the story to ensure that these criminals understand that if and when you are held with such a weapon, we will ensure that you never see the light of day again. And that is where the only time that can happen is if you turn it into you look at the Anti-Terrorism Act, which states that if someone decides to use some type of weapon that can cause great damage to harm or kill civilians, and it can affect national security to the point that even destabilizing the country, that person should be deemed a terrorist. If an individual has an assault weapon that can kill 35 persons in 3 seconds, that is not terrorism. So it is not difficult to turn this into terrorism, because that is what terrorism is. And Ecuador did it recently. It has worked. And by doing that, it can allow us now to ensure that these individuals can be incarcerated for 25 years, no bail. Persons who provide the funding for them, who keep them in their homes and protect them, who bring in the weapons for them, and even the politicians who give them state contracts, 20 years in prison, no bail. That is how you deal with these guys. And that is what will peg back the criminals. Additionally, it will now allow a unit. We have something called the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. In the last 31 years, they've come out of Tetron barracks once in 31 years, and it's not any fault of the Defense Force. They came out only during the state of emergency in 2011. 31 years. 5,000 men and women in the Defense Force being paid by the taxpayers 24 hours a day for 31 years, and they came out just during a few months for the state of emergency in 2011. And they can come out. They want to come out. They want to serve the country. But they can't do that because we have an incompetent government that will not, because if you use the Anti-Terrorism Act, it allows the Defense Force to now target these criminals, not to have them come out to be on a patrol, man next soldier next to policeman and with a cosmetic approach walking, but we can now take these 5,000 with clinical strikes, go straight into the belly of the beast and if not arrest, neutralize these criminal elements once and for all. That is how you deal with it. Jamaica is presently doing it. When they hold these areas, it is known as a zone of special operation, and it pegs back the criminals, and there's been a massive reduction in homicides recently in Jamaica. In total contrast to the misleading comment made by Keith Rowley, who said it is not, it's having no impact in Jamaica. The man is either dumb or he doesn't read. So, and that is the point. You've got to be proactive. You've got to think out of the box. But it seems that there's a fear factor by this government to when it comes to giving citizens firearms to go out to protect themselves from criminals. They are concerned when you call these gang members terrorists. They are concerned that if you use the Anti-Terrorism Act, they can be in prison for 25 years. You're concerned about trying to give firearms to members of the protective services. In that 6,800 firearms I gave out, half were for police officers, fire officers, prison officers, soldiers, sailors, customs, immigration, both past and present, to ensure that they can be protected, because when they leave the station, they have to, that weapon needs to stay in the station, and they're now forced to come out and their homes.
I think that makes sense, Mr. Griffith. That makes sense.
So why, and that's the point. So you're upset that I issued 6,800 firearms. If almost half were to give to law enforcement officials to protect them and their family, because they can very well be targeted by the criminal elements because they perform their duty. You are upset because I gave out such firearms? Shame on you, Keith Rowley. Shame on you, Fitzgerald Hines.
Yeah. One of the things that stood out to me in your press release is that you stated that very soon citizens will have to decide which position they prefer. One that caters only to elites and their associates, or one that recognizes the importance of providing legally issued firearms to those law enforcement officials, as well as citizens who request a firearm to protect themselves, their families, and their assets. Now, and you're saying very soon we'll have to make that decision. Are we going to just be keeping the status quo, or are we just simply going to be sitting ducks?
Well, again, the results would have shown, thankfully, the vast majority of the country are not blind political fanatics that will blindly follow a political party. I always call those people sheeple. It's like blind sheep. So it's not people, it's sheeple. So that's why you got 190,000 voting for one direction and 130,000 who will be blind followers. And that is their right, following another direction. When you take that 60,000 in a 30% voter turnout, in a 60% for general election, that's 120,000. That means in local parlance, they're curtailed book, and that is why they are mortified. You go to an anti-crime talk to deal with matters in Sawa and Ikwesi, and 97% of your time, Keith Rowley, is to bad talk Gary Griffith. Fitzgerald Hines, you spend all of your time bad talking Gary Griffith and talking about G-string. Now, I have never seen, as I said, I have never seen Fitzgerald Hines with a male or female accompanying him. Whatever, that is his business. I am not interested. So by calling people G-string, telling people they are wimps, calling people sissy, it shows the standard of the PNM. All of their job is to attack, to discredit, and to destroy. We are coming up with solutions, with proposals, with policies, and the political will to transform Trinidad and Tobago, not just in national security, brother, but all in every arm and thing that is required, which is why the same Keith Rowley said in cabinet he wished he could get 10 Gary Griffiths to fix the country. And therein lies the problem. We are there putting systems in place to protect citizens, and you're upset. I am providing firearms for law-abiding citizens to protect themselves. And the hypocrisy of these individuals, Keith Rowley, Fitzgerald Hines, and that McDonald Jacob, between the three of them alone, they made requests for over 50 firearms, and the list was law persons, a long and distinguished list of the who's who and the elite. So it is okay for you to be harassing the commissioner to get firearms issued for your friends in high places. But when I was providing firearms for the simple soldier, the police officer, the prison officer, the farmer, the person who has his crops to see about, the small businessman, the hunter, the person who wants to be involved in competitive sport, you have a problem. It shows the arrogance and the dictatorship in this country.
And that would be the problem. But again, the masses in this country are seeing it quite well. Listen, if Gary Griffith did anything wrong, I think, take it to the commissioner, launch an investigation, deal with Gary, deal with Kamala, deal with Johnny Abraham, deal with whoever. But most importantly, when is this government going to start dealing with crime and securing the lives of the citizens? Again, I mean, we have more murders than days of the year already starting off. So this seems to be an ongoing trend. And yet still, all that we're hearing is about what took place here and what took place there, and the fact that guns are coming in and no one is securing the borders, and who bought OPVs, and all of these things are just simply just clouding the real priority where we need to be. I mean, I don't know just how disconnected, well, I guess we could see how disconnected the authorities are, because you have grave diggers that are being robbed. You have people who are jogging being robbed. People exercising on their compound, their own home being robbed. And it goes on and on. It just gets totally ridiculous. And all we can hear about is the fact that somebody and someone, and that has nothing to do with securing the citizens of this country. We have reached a point, Mr. Griffith. I don't know how you could, as far as expand on it, but I think we've really reached a tipping point.
Well, no, we have, and that is why the polls would have shown that, the UNC and the PNM will always have their base. But those 150,000 voters who are not PNM or UNC till they die, the vast majority, probably 90%, have shifted, and that's why they are going to be part of this strategic alliance to ensure the PNM will be annihilated in the polls. Because the average man, as much as I might have a PNM party card, if these people on this side can make sure that my wife is reducing the possibility of my wife being raped, my daughter being kidnapped, my son being killed, my crops being stolen, me being robbed, I am going to vote for them. So that is where the people are coming in now. They are coming and making the decision. All that you see, what this government they do, they're very strategic, and you got to give them credit for this. They don't have a clue in policies, plans, whatever. So what they have to turn to is to character assassinate, lie, discredit, bad talk. You hear a Minister of National Security go on a platform and say his greatest achievement was to remove the one person that 89% of the country supported. 89%. That was 2 times more than Keith Rowley's support. And if it's 89%, it meant the vast majority of PNM supporters supported me as Commissioner of Police because the country felt safer. And that few moments later, we put an end to kidnapping. You were not seeing home invasions. Everywhere you turned was a police vehicle. Within 3 minutes, you got a rapid response. Criminals were being pegged back. And your greatest achievement is not to reduce crime, not to increase public confidence and trust in the police service. Your greatest achievement is to say that I remove Gary Griffith, which also shows political interference in an independent body, which again, nobody has spoken about or realized what he has said. He has deliberately showed that I was was mischievous enough to infiltrate and interfere in the process of the selection of a commissioner of police, because he said he takes great credit for being part of getting that done for me not being commissioner of police. So it shows that the government was involved in it, and they should answer that now, and the Police Service Commission should answer that. And additionally, you have a prime minister with the audacity of trying to only speak and bad talk Gary Griffith. And everything that they have said, you have, after 3 years of this massive well-oiled criminal industry, as stated by Stanley Joki John report, not one person has been arrested, not one firearm dealer, not one firearm holder, not one police officer, but it's a massive well-oiled criminal industry. And you know, PNM blind supporters buy into that. How something could be a massive well-oiled industry and not one person has been arrested? They were so desperate, they rushed to Barbados, kidnapped an individual, and it is now going to cost us tens of millions of dollars because of their desperation to hold somebody. That says a lot about this government.
Yeah, very unfortunate. And of course, the anti-crime talks continue. I believe San Fernando Monday, Mr. Griffith.
Yeah, correct. And that is, and so where it is that we intend to find solutions, we intend to speak with persons, we intend to unite the country, we intend to find plans, policies, programs, techniques, tools, units, strategies to make sure Trinidad and Tobago is safe again. The other side, all that they are doing is trying to lie, mislead, bad talk, attack, divide, spit hate, spit bitterness. You need to decide, the country needs to decide, choose one. The line has to be drawn. There's a saying, you can't be half pregnant. You need to decide if that is what you want. Because let me tell you, it's 600 murders this year. Next year it could be 700, and it is going to get worse because every single thing that is being done by this government benefits the criminals. You are going to pump $100 million into facilities. The man is so clueless. It shows how incompetent he is as a prime minister. You didn't know cost-benefit analysis. You didn't know budget. You just pop up with $100 million. Not 93, not 102, 100. So you know it's going to take $100 million for this. So if it ends up to spend 20-something million, has the rest gone? How did you come up with this $100 million? Show us the budget allocation for this. And you're going to use people, retired members of the Defense Force in their 70s and 80s to do what? To go into these areas to play twiddlywinks? That is not what the Defense Force is about. Yeah. If you want to do community policing, that is a job for the police. What this is a sideways system that is going to cause the same gang members to get more funds, more state contracts to be able to ensure that they can be part of laying the foundation to solidify the base of the PNM, to ensure that the PNM will not lose their base in the election. This is not the first the PNM have done that. You are going to pump $100 million when the police officers, stations are being broken down. There's no air condition. There are no vehicles, no tasers, no pepper spray, no body cameras, poor training, technology required. All the cameras around the country need to be repaired. We don't have an aircraft for the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard. All the vessels in Coast Guard need to be repaired. You broke down the Operation Command Center. Yeah. You took down all the technology that we did to put an end to kidnapping. You're not spending a cent for any of that, but you're just going to throw $100 million into an area without any plan.
And it makes you wonder, Mr. Griffith. I mean, as you said, at the station, sometimes they don't have anything from the government printry to write on, to even take, anybody's report or anybody's statement, and that itself is embarrassing. I want to thank you so much, of course. We've come to the end of our thing here, but thank you so much again, Mr. Griffith. Again, Monday, it's all about Naparima South, and that's the next anti-crime talks taking place under the, of course, guidance of Kamala Prasad-Bissessar and the NTA. Thank you so much again, and best of luck to you and your entire team.
Thank you.